what drew you to composing for the voice in the first place?
I sang. I think that was one of my main motives. As a kid, I sang in a church choir. We didn't have any school choir, but I sang in a church choir, and I did a little solo singing even before my voice changed. I think I sang in music festival, learning piano, I also played a lot of the vocal music, songs by Schubert. I had the album, and I loved some of the songs. I used to play the accompaniments and try and sing them to my own accompaniment. And so I think that got me into the world of vocal music.
Good afternoon, and welcome to this lecture recital on the song repertoire of John Beckwith. I am Bradley Christensen, and my pianist is Trevor Chartrand, and together we will be presenting 15 songs from the Beckwith catalogue spanning 65 years. As much as we are becoming used to virtual performances, we are greatly missing the live experience. However, thanks to the magic of the internet, we are able to welcome family and friends from around the world. I would also like to welcome the gentleman whose music we shall perform and we honor, Dr. John Beckwith. Or, since you have 5 honorary doctorates from McGill, Mount Allison, Queen's, the University of Victoria, and the University of Guelph, a very special welcome to Dr. Beckwith. This lecture recital reflects my research on the song repertoire of Dr. Beckwith, and which will culminate in an interpretive and pedagogical guide to his songs. The guide not only examines his well-known works, but also the lesser-known, or yet to be recorded, in order to disseminate the repertoire among voice teachers, performers, and music libraries. Beckwith's vast collection of Cadian folk music arrangements, over 200 in total, is omitted in favor of a deeper focus on his original compositions for voice and piano. Today's presentation explores Beckwith's song repertoire, revealing the evolution of his writing style, the timeline of his output, his compositional processes, his treatment of the text, voice and piano, as well as what Beckwith deems to be a successful performance and interpretation of his music. What will become clear is that communicating the text was Beckwith's top priority. Beckwith is a linguist, an appreciator of the wordsmith, and with every song, his ultimate goal remained the same: to get something agreeable across to the audience, get across the literary background, and if there is no background, then the sonority of syllables. A question may arise from today's discussions. Are Beckwith songs appropriate for singers of all levels at all stages in their development? The answer is yes. I invite you today to perhaps consider what levels you think the songs represent. Beckwith and I have met numerous times. He has been incredibly generous with his time, and I thank him immensely for being so gracious, for going over every one of his 46 songs with me, and especially for putting up with questions like, is there a reason that most of your songs don't use a key signature? Or, in your opinion, what constitutes a good singing melody? Now, it would be cruel of me to leave you hanging and not answer the 2 questions posed, so here are the answers. For question 1, John doesn't like to use a key signature because he finds it restrictive. He says, "You can't expect a singer to be governed by a tonality." For question 2, John's answer to what constitutes a good singing melody may make you laugh or surprise you. To answer this question, John mentions what Puccini once said on the topic. One note. A good singing melody constitutes one note. And to provide examples, we began to sing the opening of 4 of Puccini's most memorable arias. There was Che gelida manina, E lucivan le stelle, and these 2. The first 2 songs today are early compositions. Serenade was written in December 1949, and The Formal Garden of the Heart in April 1950. The texts are by Colleen Thibodeau, a friend of Beckwith's whom he met during his university years. These 2 songs were written during the year following Beckwith's graduation from the Toronto Conservatory of Music and before he left for Paris on a scholarship to study with Nadia Boulanger. In 1950, the Canadian Broadcast Corporation ran a songwriting contest to which Beckwith submitted 2 song compositions, The Great Lake Suite and Serenade. The latter received a prize and a broadcast premiere by Charles Jordan. The baritone later recorded it, and the recording can be found on the CMC website. Originally written for and premiered by a baritone, it could be sung by any voice type of any gender. In fact, in addition to Jordan, it has been recorded by soprano Carolyn Hart. Looking at the score, it would seem the song might be more suited for the tenor voice. Due to numerous occasions, the baritone is expected to sing in the second passaggio, as well as some sustained singing in the higher tessitura, as seen in the following example. However, this provides a wonderful opportunity for a baritone to develop ease in accessing their upper register. Also, if necessary, the song could be transposed down. As Beckwith says, anything I write can be transposed. We have to be practical. Although it is a shorter piece of around 1 minute and 45 seconds, there is certainly a lot to discover. The piano begins with a juxtaposition of detached playing in the left hand and legato playing in the right, perhaps portraying the 2 characters involved in the story, the singer and the lady for whom this song is intended. The steady, detached 8th note and half note motif maintains the forward direction of textual intent and confirms a G major harmony. Unlike Beckwith's later songs, the piano supports the vocal line with a chordal underlay in very traditional harmonic language. In his earlier Thibodeau songs, the piano definitely takes on the role of accompaniment. When asked why his earlier writing seems more conventional, his response was, "I don't think I had a lot of inventiveness yet. I was an apprentice composer. I did what I had learned to that point." Before departing for Paris, Beckwith was untutored in composition. What he knew and how he composed was based on his experience with the song repertoire of Schubert, Schumann, and Debussy, thanks to his experiences as a studio pianist for singing students. This is the reason his earlier songs still have a more traditional approach to form, phrasing, symmetry, and where the piano does more accompanying. Written in the time of 4/4, Beckwith has informed me that if he were to write it again, it would be in 2/2. This broader beat impulse provides a calmer atmosphere. It follows the natural accent of the language, as well as intensifies the word painting, as you will hear on the word glide in bars 13 to 15. The gliding motif is doubled in the piano. The piano continues to provide harmonic and textual support until bar 32, whereupon it cuts out so that the singer performs a melismatic descent on the word strange, a cappella. Beckwith notes that his treatment of the word strange is that he wanted to break the monotony of one syllable per note. This melismatic passage, for me, serves as the song's musical climax. Something I find of interest is where this climax occurs. Serenade is 54 bars long, and this climax happens across bars 32 to 33. Representative of the golden mean, I asked Beckwith whether this was a conscious effect. He informed me that it came about incidentally. In the final section of the song, before a return to the opening theme, there is one last moment for the piano to colour the text and to appreciate Beckwith's early style of word painting. As the vocalist sings, "You will hear their Christmas chime," the piano provides 5 C-sharp octaves in the right hand, imitating the ringing of the church bells. Beckwith doesn't always employ the use of word painting, but when he does, it is exceedingly convincing. Poetically, the text is accessible. There are 2 characters involved in the serenade, the singer and their beloved. Being a song of courtship, the singer attempts to convince the lady that pleasures and wonders are to be found in their homeland all the glorious summertime. Here is Serenade.
Serpent's son will throw his body like a light lasso about the heart of each dark center, those flashing flaws of strange splendor. Who will heal your panic? With blooms like ornamental glass, you will hear the Christmas chime. All the glorious summertime.
The formal Garden of the Heart was written as an afterthought to Serenade. Before Kimberly Barber and Anna Ronai performed this with Confluence Concerts as part of the 94th birthday celebrations of Beckwith on March 7, 2021, Beckwith was unsure if it had actually been performed in public. Therefore, today's performance may in fact be only its second public performance. The poetry is again by friend and colleague Colleen Thibodeau and speaks of youthful innocence. The image of the heart as a formal garden is in stark contrast to the wildness of the jungle, seemingly representative of love, which to our protagonist is uncharted territory. The doves, which brings the young woman to blush, seem to symbolize something good, something pure. However, the second stanza indicates that something dramatic is coming in the form of the lion or tiger. Does this danger represent impending heartbreak? Beckwith's setting incorporates some imaginative use of word painting. The melody is syllabic until the words jungle, for which Beckwith writes a Phrygian scale starting on F sharp, highlighting the many pathways through the jungle. He also emphasizes the crouching action of the tiger by setting this on the lowest sung note in the piece. The song ending lion lurking may be overdone, Beckwith says, yet it does seem to indicate that something dramatic is coming, confirmed with a rather humorous final flourish in the piano, as if to say that dramatic event did happen. Similar to Serenade, the piano postlude provides the rare occasion that Beckwith uses symmetry, an element of traditional song composition that you may not find later in his later songs. Please enjoy this short, delightful song.
Will sudden start a maiden's blushes. O virgin, hid behind the trellis, see by some pathway fountain in the dark, sudden tiger tells, or else a lion lurk.
Beckwith wrote two sets of songs to the poetry of E. Cummings. The first, written in 1950 for soprano and piano, was commissioned and premiered by Lois Marshall and Weldon Kilburn. The second set, 6 songs to poems by E. Cummings for baritone and piano, is a sequel, written between 1980 to 1982. It premiered in 1983 by another New Zealand baritone, Mark Pedrotti, and a frequent Beckwith collaborator, William Ade. During the 30 years between sets, Beckwith had little interest in adding to the song repertoire, and he produced just 2 original cycles, 4 songs from Ben Jonson's Volpone for baritone and guitar, and the children's set for voice and piano, 10 English rhymes. The reason for the absence of song composition is explained in his autobiography, Unheard of, Memoirs of a Canadian Composer. But it was a period when, like many composers, I wondered whether setting extant poetry to be sung was still a valid exercise, the so-called art songs still a valid medium. Were voice and piano tambourines like those of Mahler, Wolf, Debussy and Dupas still possible? If setting extant poems or prose texts, what texts? My restart, signifying that my answer to the first question was yes, began when I decided to write out the music which for years had been going through my head for Cummings' burlesque lyric, Jimmy's Got a Goyle. Beckwith has always been preoccupied with text, the sonority of syllables, and getting the literary background across to the audience. His treatment of Cummings' text reflects the economy of words used by the poet, capturing the idiosyncratic syntax and form. Cummings is a composer's delight, giving them seriousness, humour, and unpredictability. In an interview for the 94th birthday celebrations, William Ade remarked that the 6 songs to poems by E. Cummings is one of the best cycles produced by a Canadian composer.
Well, that song cycle, the 6 songs to poems by E. Cummings, I think is one of the best cycles produced by a Canadian composer, bar none. I've played it with 3 of our major baritones. I premiered it with Mark Pedrotti and played for Gary Relier singing it. And we recorded it, Doug McNaughton and I, for our recording, the CMC recording of your dad's songs, Avowals. Also, this is one thing that your dad was surprised at, but I think the organization of the songs, the structure of the cycle as a whole, is really very powerful. 4 lighter songs, including the bird song, "O Purple Finch," that has such interesting effects, both from the piano and the voice, including whistling. Each of my 3 baritones were able to do this effortlessly. And I can hardly pucker up to get any sound at all. This song was chosen by an eminent collaborative pianist in England, a pal of mine, Ian Burnside, on his radio program. And I think that is a distinction that few Canadian composers can claim.
After his 30-year hiatus from composing for the voice and piano pairing, it is not surprising to notice on page 1 of these songs that there is a distinctive development in Beckwith's compositional style. What I would describe as distinctly Beckwith's voice begins to emerge. In Beckwith's earlier settings of Cummings' texts, the piano accompaniments are more conventional. In these 1982 Cummings songs, the piano accompaniment is sparse and its role has changed. The idea that the piano exists to support the singer becomes secondary to the idea that the piano contributes to the communication of the text. You will hear this particularly in songs 1, 2, 3, and 5. Buy Me an Ounce is a dance song, a jig, first established in the introduction, where the piano skips along. This is further confirmed with the text, "Turn, Gert, spin, Helen, it's whirl, girls, round and round." When the introductory skipping motif comes to a stop, a sudden loud chord cluster resounds. It's as if kids are playing a game of Ring-a-Rosy and have all fallen down. The piano established the dancing nature of the song, the singer takes over the skipping motivic pattern for the majority of the piece until the piano playout, which is a reduction of the opening. The second song item is a scene at a restaurant between husband and wife whose marriage has become monotonous. E. Cummings' poetry seems like picture frames of a film strip captured in text. This idea is confirmed in Beckwith's setting, in which the piano becomes an active participant in the description of this scene. Sustained vertical chordal accompaniments transition to short detached chords when focusing on the characters, the setting, or surrounding activities. The only occasion where the piano instead offers a horizontal accompaniment is in a description of the love the couple once had. The juxtaposition of the harmonic presentation reveals how the piano role has changed in Beckwith's new compositional style. The third song is another example of how Beckwith utilizes the piano in his new compositional style. O Purple Finch is a 48-syllable parable, a conversation between a character and a finch. At times, the singer takes on the role of the bird, for which it will sing in either falsetto, whistle, or, as in the case with verse 2, answer the question posed in the first verse in modal voice. While the bird sings, the piano accompaniment assumes the movements and sounds of the bird. There are also moments of conversation between the voice and piano, such as
Oh, purple finch, please tell me why this summer world and you and I, who love so much to live,
the piano participates in the action and aids in the delivery of the text. It is essential to the understanding of the piece. Reviewed by Vincent Spilchik in the Institute for Canadian Music newsletter, he writes, "The piano accompaniment for O Purple Finch frames the text in some of the work's most memorable moments." The fourth song is inspired by the 1920s burlesque stage. Cummings' first encounter with the burlesque style was shortly after the First World War, and his love of the genre is well documented. His often cited essay from Vanity Fair, December 1925, "You Aren't Mad, Am I?" praises burlesque as a serious art form. The opening to the article reads, "As one of those helplessly observant individuals who are sometimes referred as modern artists, I am confident that the art of burlesque is particularly unobserved, both by intelligent people in general and by readers of Vanity Fair in particular. My aim in making this somewhat threatening statement is an innocent one. I merely wish to dissipate any and all illusions on the part of my audience as to the precise nature of this little essay, which is nothing more nor less than a series of observations." Influenced by the 1930s movie songs, Beckwith writes this as a modern adaptation of a 30s pop song. This feeling is established by both the pianist and the singer, who lusts after Jimmy's girl. The fifth song is a retelling of an actual encounter between E. Cummings and an organ grinder with a fortune-telling cockatoo on New York's 14th Street. In this song, the piano provides the atmosphere by portraying the hand organ on which the organ grinder plays. The left hand, with open fourths and fifths, are the drone, while the right hand acts as the turning over. At one point, the pianist is even asked to tap on the piano, as if knocking on a door. This is a more complicated story, requiring clear text and clear intention. The final song, Let It Go, is a comment on love. The three stanzas could be summarized as a broken promise, people were born to go, and love conquers all. The final word is love, sustained on the highest note of the cycle. An interesting observation is that the earlier coming cycle of 1950 also ends on the word love. Beckwith informs me that he was never aware of this connection, that it is just a wonderful coincidence. Here are the 6 songs to poems by E. E. Cummings.
And I'll sell you a pound. Turn, curd, spin, Helen. The slimmer the finger, the thicker the thumb is. Well, girls, round and round. Early to better is wiser for worse. Give Liz, take Tommy. We order a steak and they send us a pie. It's dry, boys. Mine is yours. Ask me the name of the moon in the man. Up Sam, down Alice. A hole in the ocean will never be missed. It's in, girls, yours is mine. Neither was deafer than either was dumb. Skip for red, jump, Neddy. But under the wonderies of the why, it's now, boys, here we come. This man is also waiter. This woman is Bishop that. The pout and affectionately interminable pyramidal napkins. This man is also tired of this. A door opens by itself. Woman, they so to speak, were in loved ones. Now her mouth opens too far, and she attacks her lobster without feet mingle under the mercy. Exit the hors d'oeuvres. Tell me why this summer world and you and I, who love so much to live, must die, must die. could tell you anything, that eager, sweet, caroling self answers me. I could not sing, not sing, could not sing. Jimmy's got a goil, goil, goil. Jimmy's got a goil, and she certainly can shimmy. When you see her shake, 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 when you see her shake a shimmy, how you wish that you was Jimmy. Oh, for such a girl, 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 oh, for such a girl, to be a fellow's twist and twirl, twist and twirl, twist and twirl, twist and twirl. Talk about your Sal, Sal, Sal. Talk about your Salome's, but give me Jimmy's gal. That melancholy fellow play his hand organ until you say, I want a fortune. At which, smiling, he stops, and picking up a magical stick, taps this dingy cage. Then, with a ghost rain faint, wind thin voice, which is no voice, sob cries, Molly. Whereupon out slowly steps to Mount almost white, modern person who, riding through space to diminutive face, open draw, tweaks his broad beak. One fatal faded, pinkish or yellowish maybe, piece of pitiful paper. But now, as Mr. Bowen Cockatoo proffers the meaning of the stars, 14th Street because might is a full of eyes, disappears my eyes. 14th Street, 14th only the truest things always are true, because they can't be true. Let it go, the smashed word, broken open vow, or the oath cracked lengthwise. Let it go, it was sworn to go. Let them go, the truthful liars and the false-fed friends, and the boths and neithers. You must let them go, they were born to go. Let all go, the big, small, middling, tall, bigger, really the biggest, and all things. Let all go here. Soul comes.
The next set
is titled Singing Sing. Composed in 2011, Beckwith comments in his autobiography, Unheard Of, Memoirs of a Canadian Composer, once more thinking of Doug McNaughton's enthusiasm and fine voice, in 2011 I produced Singing Sing, a cycle of 3 character studies for baritone and piano based on the texts from the plays of the Irish writer whose work I had always greatly admired. The work was premiered at the Arts and Letters Club, Toronto, on February 13, 2012 by Doug McNaughton and William Aid. We are fortunate that a recording of this performance can be found on the Canadian Music Centre website. The texts and songs are complicated, far beyond the songs we have heard thus far. The texts that make up Singing Sing are taken from 3 different plays by Irish playwright John Millington Synge: The Shadow of the Glen, The Tinker's Wedding, and The Well of Saints. Synge was a leading figure in the Irish literary renaissance of the late 19th, early 20th century, a poetic dramatist who portrayed the harsh rural conditions of the Aran Islands and the western Irish seaboard. Beckwith was familiar with the plays of Synge. He liked them very much, drawn to the characters and the comic situations. But it was a trip of his own to the Aran Islands that brought this project into focus. It is clear from my study of the Beckwith songs that the composer is very well read and well travelled. We find evidence of both in this group. If the performer so chooses, these songs can be performed with an Irish accent, yet not overdone. Beckwith, a believer of singing with one's native accent, explains that the Irish flavour is in the text. In the one-act play, The Shadow of the Glen, Dan Burke, an elderly farmer, is testing how long it would take for his wife Nora to consider a new husband were he dead. He decides to play dead. Upon discovering her husband Dan's dead body, Nora goes out to find the young shepherd Michael. When they return, Michael proposes to Nora, at which point Dan leaps up in protest, kicking his wife out of the house. On her departure, Dan invites Michael to share a glass with him. In The Tinker's Wedding, Sarah Casey has convinced Michael Byrne to marry her. A local priest informs her that he will only perform the wedding if he receives payment, agreeing to a meager amount only out of the goodness of his heart, because it wouldn't be easy in his soul if he left them growing into old, wicked heathens. In the 3-act play, The Well of Saints, Martin and Mary Dowell are introduced as a middle-aged blind couple who have been led to believe that they are physically beautiful. A saint cures them of their blindness with water from a holy well. At the first sight of each other, they see that they are not beautiful at all, and they are disgusted by each other's appearance. They both lose sight again in Act 3. Martin curses his fate and laments his loss, only to gradually realize it wasn't so bad having someone to sit next to, and slowly realizing he is in fact sitting next to Mary. The songs are character sketches or sung monologues. Musically operatic, the drama moves forward through both accompagnato and recitativo secco sections. In the context of the first 2 plays, the texts are conversations between 2 characters. Altering the original script, Beckwith decides to omit the dialogue and instead write a seemingly one-sided conversation. However, the character does not disappear entirely and is actively participating in the scene. In preparing or teaching these songs, I find it interesting to speculate that if one were to set words as dialogue in the short piano interludes, what might those conversations be?
Here is a short example from The Priest. The second song is written as a two-part counterpoint between the voice and the piano, representing the two characters in the scene, the priest and Sarah Casey. Needing only two parts to get the point across, Beckwith utilizes both the right hand and the left hand only in the musical interludes when Sarah Casey is talking. This economy and scarcity of textures when the singer is singing, not only in this second song, but the first as well, reveals Beckwith's compositional ethos, to make the words clear and heard. The third song presents insight into Beckwith's compositional process for song composition. His frequent approach was to first create a rhythmic sketch of the text, then speak the words aloud, paying attention to where there are accents and where there are pauses. He achieved rhythmic integrity by noting according to the contour of the language. In fact, in an interview with son Larry Beckwith in March 2021, Beckwith explains his system and points out that in some sketches of his operas, there are blank rhythms in the score alongside the voice. A representation of this can be found in the sketches for his opera Night Blooming Cereus in the archive collection at the University of Toronto.
I am always somehow guided by the way you speak the poetry. The way you would recite the poetry gives you a guide to the kind of tempo, the kind of inflection, the kind of melodic ups and downs that you would use in setting it to music. And I have, in some of my attempts at songwriting, I have even, you will see in the manuscript, a line, not really a musical state, but just a line with notes on it in a certain pattern that represent how I'm reciting the words before I have any idea of melody. And I find that's always a good guide.
Right.
The recitative style in Martin Dow is a perfect example of this compositional process. Without definitive value, the black notes in the voice part are short and the white notes are long. The dashes are the word stresses and the commas are the pauses. In this free section, the delivery should be speech-like, as if narrating.
Sitting alone in the cold air, hearing the night coming, and the blackbirds flying around in the briars, crying to themselves.
Composers often have their own way of notating their intentions in the score. In the third song of Singing Sing, Beckwith calls for frequent crescendi, but Beckwith's intention for the crescendo isn't actually asking for a gradual increase in volume, but in fact, he asks the singer for a maintaining of the character's temperament. Not wanting the sound to taper at the end of the phrase, Beckwith seems well aware of its pedagogical benefits, that a crescendo on held notes assists in breath energy and or vibrancy. Beckwith applies this type of crescendo marking to subsequent phrases in the song. Beckwith's regard for literature and poetry makes him a strong storyteller in his song repertoire. Many of the texts are from the first-person perspective, which leads one to consider the idea of staging these works. When I spoke to Beckwith about this in relation to his 1997 cycle, Stacy, Beckwith tells me they are not intended to be staged. However, I recorded Sing for Beckwith's 94th birthday celebrations from 3 different locations in my home, semi-staged, receiving positive feedback in an email from Beckwith. It would seem that Beckwith's earlier comment rings true. Performers can have a freedom of interpretation. Please enjoy.
Sit down now and take a little taste of the stuff, Michael Dara. There's a great drought on me, and the night is young. I was thinking to strike you, Michael Dara, but you're a quiet man, God help you, and I don't mind you at all. Your good health, Michael Dara. Is it marry you for nothing at all? Let you hold your tongue, let you be quiet, Sarah Casey. If you want to be married, let you pay your pound. I'd do it for £1 only, and that's making it a sight cheaper than I'm making for one of my own pairs. If it's 10 shillings you have, let you get 10 more, and I'll marry you then. Let you get a crown along with the 10 shillings and the gallon can, Sarah Casey, and I will wed you so. Coming down early to the chapel, and let you come to me a while after you see me passing, and bring the bit of gold along with you and the tin can. I'll marry you for them too, though it's a pitiful small sum, for I wouldn't be easy in my soul if I left you growing into an old devil and married all. For putting eyes on me and letting on she was grand. The devil and the old saint, for letting me see it was lies. The devil meant Timmy the smith, for killing me with hard work and giving me with an windy stomaching me in the day and in the night. 10,000 devils mend the soul. The soul of Mollyburn, the soul of Mollyburn, and the bad wicked souls is hidden in all the women of the world. It's lonesome I'll be from this day, and if leaving people's a bad lot, yet Mary Dowell herself, and she, a dirty, wrinkled-looking hag, was better maybe to be sitting along with, better than no one at all. I'll be getting my death now, I'm thinking. Sitting alone in the cold air, hearing the night coming, and the blackbirds flying round in the briars crying to themselves. The time you'll hear one cart getting off a long way in the east, and another cart getting off a long way in the west, or a dog barking maybe, and a little wind turning the sticks. I'll be destroyed, destroyed. Sitting alone and losing my senses this time, the way I'm after losing my sight. For you'd make any person afraid to be sitting up here in the sound of his breath and the noise of his feet, when it's a power of queer things to be stirring, little sticks breaking, and the grass moving, till you take your dying oath on sun and moon. A thing was breathing on the stones. I'll be going now, I'm thinking, but I'm not sure what place my sticks in. till I die. Mary Dowell, is it? Mary Dowell, is it Mary Dowell? I'm saying. The final set today is 4 short songs written in 2014 with text by Vasily Kandinsky. Kandinsky, born in Russia in 1866, was one of the major figures of abstract painting in the early 20th century. He also has 3 literary publications to his credit, including Klänge, or Sounds, a book of 38 poems he wrote between 1909 and 1911, and published in 1912. In 1981, the Yale University Press published the collection in an English translation by Elizabeth R. Napier. Beckwith had seen a Kandinsky exhibit in Paris, but was only made aware of his poetry when Daniel Weinsweig, son of Canadian composer John Weinsweig, gave him the book as a gift. Beckwith was attracted to the form and structure exhibited in the poems, as well as their sounds, or Klänge. Beckwith comments that sounds are visible to a painter, and that by naming one of the poems Lied, or song, Kandinsky evidently hinted that some of his texts are potentially singable. Permission to use the translations was given by Yale University Press. Beckwith, in turn, presented the set of songs to Daniel Weinsweig as a gift. These are Beckwith's most recent compositions for the voice and piano pairing, although he wrote 5 other songs in 2017 for 2 sopranos and viola under the title Chapters and Verses, and premiered in 2018. To date, 4 short songs concludes his 67-year journey of composing for this medium. These 4 short songs present a most striking summary on the evolution of Beckwith's compositional style. Song composers are generally identifiable. Schubert, Poulenc, or Korngold come to mind, and this is also true for Beckwith, especially post-1982. In Beckwith's writing, he seems to have a chameleon-like quality in being able to adapt not only the vocal line, but his accompaniments also, based on the text he has in front of him. I'm reminded of the famous Italian sculptor Michelangelo, and how he saw his role not so much as an artist creating, but instead revealing what already exists within the marble. Beckwith is like a sculptor in his own right, revealing a musical portrayal based on his understanding of the text. For example, with respect to the piano, in the first song, Beckwith provides a linear accompaniment of a single line, providing the atmosphere for this fable that describes this strange man sitting in a narrow ring of thinness. Only when the text refers to the red sounds of the sunball does the piano provide a homophonic texture. Instantly, Beckwith's goal of making words clear and heard is apparent. The second song is polyphonic in nature,
a compositional technique most often associated with the Renaissance or Baroque periods. Beckwith has explored this device, utilizing it in other songs, including the second song of Singing Sing, and 3 songs from 10 English rhymes, which are in a canon. Beckwith's training as a pianist and his knowledge of the fugal style of Bach clearly gave him not only a taste for, but also a command of this style. Ironically, this is the shortest song in the set. The third song is light in piano support. The song is 70 bars long, and 28 of those, the singer is unaccompanied. Once again, the piano accompaniment enlivens the text by participating in the conversation. Beckwith explains that the song is unaccompanied at times to bring out the 2 voices. The economy of the sparse piano accompaniment reflects the economy of the text. Beckwith comments that, such was the case with the third Kandinsky song, the piano is there for light support. The opening lines of the text read, "No one came out of there." No one? No one. In a descriptive use of word painting, the piano drops out, as if confirming, no one came out. This song presents a clear example of how Beckwith helps the audience differentiate between the 2 voices in a conversation. Beckwith alternates between the voices through a register shift. Person A sits a little higher in the range than person B. This technical device can be found not only in the third of these Kandinsky songs, but in prior compositions also, such as his cycle Stacy. In the final song, the poem is about digging a grave, and the atmosphere of the poem is captured by the weight of heavy chords in the lower half of the piano. The gravity of the chords, along with the lengthened vocal line and slower tempo, articulate the labored and deliberate movement of the men loading the carts. Effective use of word painting on the word cracked, in which the piano cracks the whip 1 beat earlier, provides a feeling that something is not quite right. Two of the 4 poems selected by Beckwith are paired with an image. Kandinsky, who designed the book in its entirety, from the 56 woodcuts down to the typeface, had the text and images side by side. Beckwith was unaware of the pictures when he composed the songs. Beckwith's taste in literature is eclectic, and his song catalogue represents that. These 4 short songs have striking texts to which Beckwith has provided a musical interpretation. I see my role in presenting these songs is going full circle and becoming the painter who depicts a visual representation of the text. These songs are indeed short. Please enjoy.
Sits in a narrow ring of thinness. He's content. He has no ear and doesn't have his eyeballs. He cannot find what's left behind of red sounds of the sun ball. Whatever falls stands up again. And what is dumb, it sings a song until the man who has no ear and doesn't have his eyeballs will start to find signs left behind of red sounds of the sun ball. Once there was a long table, oh, a long, long table. Right and left at this table sat many, many, many people, people. Oh, a long, long time at this long, long table sat people. No one came out of there. No one. No, yes. But when I came by, there was one standing there. At the door, he stretched out his arm, yes, because he doesn't want to let anyone in. No one came in there. No one! The one who stretched out his arms, was he there? Inside, yes, inside. I don't know. He just stretches out his arms so no one can get in. Was he sent there so no one can get in? The one who stretches out his arms? No, he came and stood there himself and stretched out his arms. And no one came out. No one. Their whips heavily, the horses pulled the heavy carts with the heavy
John Beckwith has been a prominent voice in the Canadian music scene during the second half of the 20th century and the first 2 decades of the 21st century. It has been a privilege to discuss and present a selection of Beckwith's repertoire with you today. While scholarship on John Beckwith, the composer, the teacher, and the scholar is plentiful, his vocal repertoire, with few exceptions, has been generally overlooked. I do hope that this afternoon's lecture recital has given you insight and some illumination into the expanse, text selection, development, and vocal and piano dialogue found in the incredible song repertoire of one of Canada's most respected composers, Dr. John Beckwith. Thank you, John, for the incredible music. Thank you, Trevor, for being a most wonderful collaborative partner. And thank you all for tuning in today. All the best.